welcome back to another episode of Popcorn Heroes. With me, as always, yo, before the intro. Alright. With me, as always.
I was like, who is this?
Alright, with me, as always, is Pedro.
Hello.
And I'm your host today, Orlando. It's been a while, so I'm kind of rusty. So just bear with me, everybody. So today we're going to be reviewing Black Widow, a Disney Plus original, but it's also in theaters.
Yeah,
a Disney Plus Premium. Disney Plus Premium. Disney Plus Premium Access, also released in theaters. So Paige, you saw this one in the movies, right?
Yeah. I went to theaters for this one because I have the AMC subscription
A-list
thing. So
okay,
I might as well.
Yeah, and
I saw exactly.
And I saw it as of today at home. So there's two different perspectives, so we can both give you our different side of the experience. But before we get there, as always, we're going to give you our synopsis of the movie. We're going to jump into our spoiler-free review, and then we're going to jump into our spoilers. So, as always, Pedro, take it away with the synopsis.
All right, so this one is very tricky where it is in the timeline, right? Because, spoiler alert, something happens to her where we're at. So, anyways, this takes place between Civil War and Infinity War. So, really, all you really gotta watch is Civil War just to have a nice idea of where Black Widow's at right now. So anyways, it follows her between Civil War and Infinity War, where she's on the run because she broke the law and the Sokovia Accords, that thing. So it's her on the run from Ross, which is the general from Incredible Hulk, and pretty much she gets involved with other Black Widows in the Red Room. And yeah, to avoid further spoilers, that's the gist of it. It's an in-between story, and it digs in more into her backstory.
Perfect synopsis. I felt like I was watching it. Now,
thanks, man.
Let's get into our spoiler-free review. Pedro, what would you give this film 1 out of 5 spiders?
Spiders. Okay. I give it... I remember we used to do this shit. We would always come up with a weird fucking thing.
Yeah.
I haven't done that in a long time.
Bringing it back for our veteran listeners.
Nostalgic Orlando here. All right, so I would give this movie 4 out of 5 spiders.
Nice.
So I give it 4 out of 5. I think that although this movie honestly should have came out way earlier, it really was way past. You watch it now and you're just like, why are you releasing this now? You should have released this earlier. But that being said, it was needed for the character to make her more three-dimensional, because I always felt her and Hawkeye were very bland compared to the other ones, obviously because they never got their solo movies. So it just made sense. And ever since Winter Soldier, she got a little more love, and we've been wanting to see some shit about her. So we finally get to see a little bit more about her, and I think it's great. I think there's a whole, the plot itself is very straightforward, but I think the characters' interactions is what really carries the movie for me. I really enjoyed the side characters here, especially what's her face, Yelena. Yelena was great, and Red Guardian. I think both of them kind of stole the movie. And the villains, I actually liked the villains. I wish that there would have been a little bit more, especially fight scene wise. Better. I wish there was a better final fight. But overall, I think what they were going for was more of the family character interaction aspect of it, and I think they delivered on that front. So yeah, overall I really liked it. I think as far as solo movies of all the Marvel characters having their own solo movies, I think this is one of the strongest ones for sure. So yeah, 4 out of 5.
Yeah, I love what you said about the like how this is like a more of like a family coming together and reuniting. I love at the end credits where Vin Diesel comes out and he's like, "Welcome to the family." But jokes aside, I give this film a 3.5.
Okay.
I've 3.5 creepy crawlers. I really liked it. I love always when we have superhero films that is always never like the end of the world. You know, like
Yeah.
I enjoy that, like where the stakes aren't so high. And granted, like it's a typical villain that kind of wants to, take over the world, as they say.
Yeah,
But it's not
typical.
like it's not dire of like the end of the world kind of scenario.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy, like you said, some of the side characters, Red Guardian, Yelena. They were also they're pretty good. They brought some needed comedic relief. I mean, Natasha's character is fleshed out a bit. I just didn't really. I still don't really care for her as much, really.
Right.
So that's not really here or there. I agree with you. The film should have came out, a while back. So like in my like now that there's like 24 films in the MCU, it's hard for me, especially one who's like a casual watcher of them. I've seen practically all of them, but I've seen them just once. It's kind of hard for me to put where things are, especially with
Yeah.
the multiverse coming up. It's really confusing for me to figure out where everything lands. So
Yeah,
watching
for
this
sure.
one, I'm trying to remember what happened in Civil War and what's going on. I got the gist of it, obviously, but yeah, it would have made sense if this movie came out during that time, but it is what it is. But overall, I thought the film was, I thought it was enjoyable. There was a few times where I was laughing, and I really enjoyed that. The fight scenes, like, at this point, like, I've said it 1,000 times, where fight scenes or just in general with these kind of films, you gotta wow me, and nothing ever wows me anymore, since because we've seen it all. At this point, you gotta like fucking flip the camera over and like film that shit upside down for me to be like, oh shit, this is crazy. So I'm not expecting anything on that end. I did like some of the villains. One of the villains is just very like refuses to give up, and that was really cool. Like very action packed in that sense. And yeah, overall, like yeah, the film just had a good pacing to it. There was some like downtime, but each downtime I feel like was needed to either flesh out a side character or flesh out Natasha more. So overall, I feel like this is a good movie. And yeah, I think it's good. It's funny because we had two different experiences before we get to the spoilers. We had to do two different experiences. And I guess before we jump in, we always say, would you recommend this film? And given the fact that we both saw it in two different settings, what was your experience at the movies, being back at the movies and like watching it with people? Was it the movie theater packed, as it should be for a Marvel cinematic movie?
Yeah.
So okay,
Yeah.
so how
So
was
so
it?
I went to watch it on IMAX. And I mean, this wasn't my first time at the movies. I watched Godzilla versus Kong, but that one wasn't as packed. For this one, it was every single seat was taken. It was the most packed I've ever seen it. So when I saw this, I'm like, oh shit, it's back. Like movie wise, it's all back. So and you got the it's something that I honestly always hate. I mean, there's it's cool to be excited during a movie and kind of go like yeah, like during a movie. But man, I had a crowd where everyone was like, no, whoa. Oh, I'm just like, yo, calm down. Like none of these reveals were anything mind blowing. So I don't know where all this whoa was coming from. So, but that's just me nitpicking like I always did, even back in like Endgame and shit. But
Right.
overall, it was nice. It was still nice to feel like the energy of the crowd when you're watching a movie. But yeah, I recommend it. I recommend watching this in theaters, actually.
Right, and I remember, not remember, I read a quote recently, like on IGN, or Kevin Feige, he was saying, like, we're making movies to be experienced at movie theaters, and
Right.
while their model right now currently is to put their movies on Premier Access, which gives you the benefit of watching it at home, who knows, that might change, given the, we're toward, like, I'm guessing, the end of the pandemic, quote unquote. So who knows what 22 might look like in terms of movie theaters. maybe Disney Plus doesn't have the premiere access anymore and you have to watch it at the movies.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens in the future. But given the fact that I saw it here in the comfort of my own home, yeah, I would say I was missing that. I was missing that, like for me, like I'm no longer excited watching fight scenes and watching those kind of stuff. I really, especially with this movie, given the fact that we know how Natasha, like her, if you watch the MCU, you kind of know what happens to her. So, given the fact that we know that this movie has no consequence per se for the character, it really, nothing wowed me in terms of fight scenes and stuff like that, because I just know, okay, well, that's gonna not really do much. So watching those scenes were kind of lackluster, but I thought they were filmed great. And I think being in a loud movie theater and being with like a bunch of people and the screen is huge and I can see those action scenes play out, I think I would have probably enjoyed the movie more. Hey, I might have left it giving it a 4 instead of 3.5. So,
right. I know for IMAX, it really added to it. I hadn't watched the movie in IMAX in a while, actually. So it was kind of nice to see, because I'm watching it, I forgot that the aspect ratio changes between different scenes of the movie, depending on what they filmed it on. So I'm watching it, in IMAX, and I'm just like, it's not that much bigger. I'm telling myself, and I'm like, it's got a widescreen black bar, and I'm like, it's not that different. I wonder why the fuck, what the difference is. And then suddenly it gets to one of the early action scenes, and then the whole screen fills up completely, and then that's where you feel it. You're like, whoa, this is huge. And then it really got me into it, because every time I saw the screen open up, I'm like, oh, shit's about to get good, or an action scene's coming. And then you felt it every time. And then, of course, you got the bass from the freaking movie theater sound system and everything. So yeah, no, it definitely got me hyped being in the theaters again, 100%.
Yeah. I haven't gone back to the movie theaters yet, just because I just haven't. I've been wanting to, and I definitely feel like I'm not regretting it because it's a movie, whatever. But yeah, I would have liked to probably seen this in theaters, given the fact that it's actually a pretty solid movie. But yeah, we just want to give you guys that perspective. Some of you guys are probably going back to the movie theaters, and some of you guys are reluctant to go back. Obviously, it's your choice. So I think in general, this movie is enjoyable it stands alone as an enjoyable movie that no matter where you're watching it, I feel like you'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
So definitely recommend it to watch it however you see fit. So we're going to jump into spoilers. So if you haven't watched the movie, come back and listen to our spoiler thoughts. And if you have watched the movie, welcome to the spoilers. So, Taskmaster, I wanted to start there because
right into it.
Welcome to the spoilers. So, as a casual Marvel fan, as a casual person who doesn't read the comics, who watches the TV shows maybe as a kid and whatever, plays Marvel vs. Capcom, plays the Avengers game that came out recently.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
My idea of Taskmaster is like this mercenary guy, and he's like a wise ass, and
shit talker. Yeah.
A shit talker, and that's all I know him from. Like that's all I just know him. I just always knew him as a wise ass shit talker, and I'm watching the beginning of this film, and Pedro, you jump in whenever you want. And I'm watching the beginning of this film, and I see Taskmaster. I'm like, oh, I guess it's a robot. I'm like, okay, and I'm waiting.
You're like, USB to the back of the head. Okay, what is this? Right.
Yeah, and I'm waiting for like
aim of Hawkeye. Spidey swing.
Yeah, I'm aiming for not for that, but I'm waiting for something to come by to change like Taskmaster. So I was like, okay, he's maybe the robot didn't get malfunction and they have to put the chip into somebody, right? And I was like, okay, so what can it be? I was like, oh, that the black British guy. He's talking about how he's in it for the money and like he has some debts. So I was like, okay, he's her friend, but
you were
yeah,
you were one theory away from Mephisto's gonna come out. Like, yo, you were all over the place.
Because I was just like, well, he's her friend, but he's not really a friend. He talks about it like, oh, give me money or whatever. And you and I talk about the Avengers and their money. Like, how do they get money?
Yeah.
Spoiler.
Yeah.
For our audience that don't know, I had a big problem with Falcon and Falcon Winter Soldier being broke as fuck and not having money. But Tony
doesn't pay these people.
But we have Natasha here just throwing out money for some reason.
That's right. She's a spy. She got spy money. I don't know.
She works for the Avengers. Who does she work for?
I don't know what to tell you, man. She stole money. She's on the run. She stole money from the government.
The government don't even apply her anymore. How does she have the money?
Man, I don't know. Maybe she was doing favors for this guy.
And Falcon, he couldn't.
Backwards. Maybe the guy was doing favors.
And Falcon couldn't get money from the bank. Whatever. Neither here or there. All right.
Exactly.
I just didn't like that.
Let's not get into that.
I didn't. If anyone's wondering, I didn't like that side plot about fucking being broke. I get it. They're like, oh, he's black and they're trying to make it hard for him. But at the end of the day, he's a fucking Avengers. He should have been loaded. He shouldn't be having bank problems. Whatever. Yeah. Side note. Let's move on. So
you got that out of your chest? Cool.
Yeah. You have no idea. So I was waiting for the wisecracking Taskmaster. I was waiting for it. And I was like, okay. So these were my theories. One, in the beginning, I was just like, when I first watched it, I wasn't paying attention that much. And I didn't know Natasha was Natasha, like the girl version. And I thought that was like somebody else. Yeah. Because it isn't. I just didn't think of it. So I thought that was somebody else. I was like, okay, maybe that's Taskmaster.
You didn't read the beginning as saying 1995, or you just didn't put it two and two together.
I just didn't pay attention. You know how sometimes, and one of the drawbacks of watching shit at home is that you're easily distracted. But I went back and I watched it. So at first I thought, oh, that's Taskmaster, but then that wasn't the case. And then I was like, oh, the black British dude, he's Taskmaster. That wasn't the case. And
I actually thought he was when they revealed the posters. I was like, that's Taskmaster. Yeah.
I was like, it has to be, right? And then I was like, okay, so I was like, the sister's not going to be it. I didn't think the mom would be it. So I was just like, maybe, I don't know, maybe like a random, maybe someone that we don't know from the MCU or somebody else comes in and they're not in the poster or advertised. But whatever. The case was that I was wrong 100%, and it was his daughter.
Right.
So how'd you feel about it?
So okay, so first thing first was I thought it was the black British dude too, because I saw them reveal. So they revealed character posters of all the main characters. You know, they show the character name and the actor name. They did that for all of them, but then when they showed Taskmaster, it was blank. It just showed Taskmaster, but they blanked out on the actor name. And I'm like, interesting. And then I started looking at all the character posters, but the black British dude got a poster. I'm like, okay, it's totally him. Like, later on, they'll probably just add his name. I'm like, it's totally him. So the whole movie, I'm like, yeah, it's him. But then there's one scene where he gives her the box. And then obviously that's when Taskmaster attacks, and then the fucking Jeep does like that 1080 in the air and she miraculously survives. Crazy, of course, but it's MCU, whatever, fuck it. We saw Fast 9 and, accepted their fate, so why not? So but yeah, and then I'm like, oh wait, it can't be him then. And I'm just like stumped the whole time. Who could it be? And then I remember someone saying that they frame by framed like the trailer at one point. And they were like, oh, he kind of walks feminine. And I'm like, interesting. All the Black Widows are women. It's all about the Red Room. What if this is just a super soldier version of a Red Room Black Widow? So that's when I was like, oh, it's a woman. It's a woman. I didn't know it was the daughter. That got me by surprise. But after I realized it wasn't the British dude, I was like, it's got to be a chick. I don't know which chick, but it's a chick. And then, so it didn't surprise me, honestly.
Right.
And I'm not that much. I'm kind of like you. I'm not as familiar with Taskmaster as well. You know, the game, the video games, of course, Marvel's Capcom and in the Avengers game. And whenever he came out in comics that I read, it was only as like a crossover character of like a side character. It wasn't a big deal. So I don't know this guy's life story or anything. If anything, I actually read his origin comic where he's like, I got photographic memory of moves where I memorize them as I see them. That's it. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. So overall, I enjoyed the twist. It made sense within this world to me. There were other problems with the character, but the origin of the character didn't bother me. It didn't faze me.
Yeah. I mean, the MCU, in my opinion, has a lot of villains and a lot of typical villains, like paint by the numbers kind of villains. It's always nice when you get a villain that stands out, and we don't have a villain.
You get your Thanos, you get your once in a blue moon,
once in a blue moon, you get a villain that really like is above above them all. You know, Loki is a villain; he's a great villain. Thanos is a great villain. I can't remember.
Killmonger.
Yeah, Killmonger's amazing villain. So you get a few of those, but they're not much. So when I thought of Taskmaster, I was like, I'm kind of excited to see a wisecracking mercenary, an evil Deadpool. You know, I'm excited to see that because we don't have that yet.
Right. So yeah,
but we didn't get that, and so I was kind of disappointed. You know, I was kind of disappointed on that end because, you know, it
seems like you're not alone. It seems like the general consensus is a lot of people are disappointed in that. But I wasn't that attached to the character, so I was just kind of like, whatever. I'm sure if I were a fan of Taskmaster, like a lot of people were, I probably would have been like, yo, what the fuck? So he's not my evil Deadpool, you know?
Right. And I'm trying to think, because I could have swore I saw a movie, maybe a superhero movie or something of that end of like, man, what a great character. Hopefully they continue on with their story and they end up dying or something. I'm like, damn. Because, you know, some of these MCU movies, if they're not a big character, they might die.
For sure. They'll kill them.
And so, I'm like at a loss for words, and I'm trying to remember the character
of the one you're thinking of. We'll
it was somebody very like, you know, like very smooth, like I think maybe it was a big actor. I can't remember right now. It doesn't matter, but yeah, I did want that. I did want that because Marvel does have a villain problem. So I was disappointed on that end. Overall, I did like though, like the idea of like this like I'm going to complete my mission kind of villain, like no matter what. Obviously, kind of like, you know,
it's almost a Terminator if you think about it. It's just here's your mission.
Yeah, yes, that's a great analogy.
Completely unstoppable, just boom. And the mimicking. So the mimicking I thought was awesome. I wish there was more, but then I keep thinking, and I'm like, you know what? Taskmaster fucking mimicked a lot of people, but I still wanted more. It was mimic Spider-Man in the beginning, where he does that whole like you know, grapple line.
Right,
obviously
and then
he's mimicking Black Widow, Hawkeye, obviously with the bow, Captain America when he does the shield kick, and then Black Panther with the nails. So you can see him mimicking a bunch of different people.
Right.
So I thought that was pretty badass, but I guess we'll skip right to it then. I wanted more. So now that we're still on Taskmaster, I thought the first fight was really good. With the, you know, where after she fucking recovers from that car flipping over, I actually really enjoyed that fight because that's where you start seeing him at his prime, and he's just fucking whooping her ass. Right. And then I was actually really excited because, you know, the trailer showed it. I was excited to see Red Guardian and Taskmaster fight. I wanted to see Taskmaster just fuck him up because he's got super strength. So I kind of wanted to see this character Taskmaster doesn't have super strength. So I want to see how she fights against him. And there was so much going on in that scene that they cut the fight short. You just kind of see the fight start. A couple punches get thrown in the mix, and then it just ends of him getting his
Right.
ass whooped. And I was like, yo, what the fuck? I got gypped. I wanted to see the fight. So I was pretty annoyed about that.
That fight was very like anticlimactic, and she ends up like in a cell. And I was like, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
It was. I didn't like that either. Just because like she is like the entertainment. Because like at the end of the day, like the villain, the guy who runs it all, he's not gonna he's not gonna get like, in a mech suit and start like whooping ass. So like that's gonna be kind of like a boring fight. The other widows, you kind of knew that they were going to
just
stop
get,
it.
The antidote and call it a day. Although I wish they could have had a scene too, like a scene of them on the run from them. I know they did the quick one in the beginning, which also had a weird little moment where she fell and like fucking got her ass handed to her falling down and somehow got up and it was all good. So yeah, Black Widow was doing some weird shit where she was just, no damage Game Shark in a couple things. But I just wish there was more of them like really like fear for their lives running away from these Black Widows to show how strong they are, like how badass they are. Instead, you get that full room fight where she just starts zapping all of them one by one, and I'm just like, yo, these chicks ain't shit. Like, in a group.
At one point,
I wanted to show how fearsome they were,
Yeah, at one point, when they were ganging up on her, it felt like The Matrix 2, where all the Smiths are ganging up on Neo.
Yeah, exactly. And Smith's supposed to be a badass, so it's like, why are they all shitty when they're together?
Right, yeah. So, I mean, I agree with you. It's funny because I don't know, and maybe they explained it, but maybe, I don't know, I wasn't listening. Why is it all just women that get to be widows?
It's just because, I don't know if they ever really explain it, but it's just like a spy thing of like women can get into places easier. And they could use their powers of seduction to like get past certain places. Stuff like that. It's just they're overall better spies.
Okay, that makes sense. Because I was just like
all that stuff.
Because I was just like obviously Yelena mentions it like I had my ovaries removed and my fallopian tube, which is a funny scene, but also very like holy,
sad.
like it's very sad, And I'm like, man, they're doing a lot to these women. They could just get mad and not do so much, like.
Right.
That's not needed, But I guess from your, it's funny because I haven't been in the movie theaters for a long time, and I'm so used to for Disney to be like Disney, like very like clean, very like family friendly, and I felt this movie like had an edge to it.
Yeah, darker tone. It gave me Winter Soldier vibes where it had that darker edge to it.
Yeah, it had an edge to it that I didn't expect, especially with like that scene where she's being very graphic and saying what's happening to these women. And
the
like
kids
he's
in
like,
the theater
yo,
are like, ah!
and he's like, yo, that's enough. Like I'm good. And there's a part where like he like curses at like the people down there where he's like, I think he said in Russian, he's just like, see you later, douchebag, or something, like screw you, douchebags, or whatever. And
Right.
And there's some moment that's like blood, and I guess
and they were saying shit quite a few times too, which I don't remember.
Right.
I don't remember MCU movies just saying shit like that. I could be wrong, but at the top of my head, I was like, they said it 2 times already. I was kind of counting at one point.
And I think it's for me, being someone who hasn't been to the movie theaters in a long time, get almost a year, I think, or longer. It just caught me by surprise that this is a movie theater like experience,
Mm-hmm.
Just because I was just like, oh wow, they're because at first I was like, oh, they're doing too clean. Like the part where Yelena kills like the
girl in the beginning,
the Asian spy, and there's no blood. I was like, they're doing it too clean.
So that was the thing. There was no blood, but the way she did it, like she did the slash, the twist, and then you can see by the movements that it was supposed to be a gory kill, but obviously they Disney-fied it. But it was still like, oh shit, she's fucking dead. Like
right, yeah. But going in, that was my first thing of like, we're in for a Disney movie. You know, we're like, that's why I was saying, like, oh, when she dies, when she first got stabbed, I was like, we're in for a very clean Disney movie. That was my first impression. And then we had the Black Widow that died where she shot herself in the eye, and then there's blood and her eyes red. And I was like, oh, okay.
Like,
and then
never mind.
Right, and then we get farther in where like he breaks the dude's hand. Red Guardian breaks the guy's hand. He curses at one of them, and I'm like, okay, this is getting like more like adult. And more like the thing about the women getting essentially castrated and keeps going. And I was like, these are a lot of adult themes or events that I just didn't see Disney going for. And maybe it's because like I said, I haven't been in movie theaters for a while, so I forgot what you can and what you can't get away with at PG-13, and I just thought they were just gonna be PG. So maybe it's just me being like, you know, out of the loop in terms of like what the what's allowed and what's not allowed.
Yeah. I could see that. Actually, now that I think about it, one of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, I think it was World's End, there was a part where a dude gets shot in the head, and I was like, oh! And then I looked it up, and it said PG-13. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess you can get away with a headshot. Got it. Right. As long as it's not splatter. So yeah, Disney's definitely, with PG-13, they push it as much as they can. And yeah, you could definitely notice it here.
Yeah. So what did you think about the introductions of the side characters? Obviously, we have Yelena, who's Natasha's like quote unquote sister. We'll start there.
Well, even with that, let's start with the opening scene, right? So the introduction to the whole family unit. So I actually really liked the beginning because it had the whole Red Scare, you know, kind of like the show The Americans vibe that everyone was always worried about. Like, oh my God, we got Russian spies that are living in the suburbs and families and their whole family units. And then this played with that because that's exactly what they were. And you got to see them all trained in action, obviously, except for Yelena because she's like a little girl. But, you know, you saw the mom flying the plane. This girl was also piloting the plane, Natasha and everything. You saw that they were all trained, you know, because I was kind of wondering, did the kids know? Maybe it's just the parents and no, but all of them were in on it. All of them knew about it.
Right, except the little one.
Except, you're right. Yeah. I think afterwards she started realizing it was real for me. Yeah, she started saying that. But I just really liked that whole introduction. And then showing them how from there, you know, they go to Cuba. And then that's where they get shanghaied into the Red Room to start their full training sequence with that opening montage. So I just thought that was a great opener to it because it really set the tone for it, that it was like that Red Scare vibe of the whole times. And so here's a complaint, since Armando's not here. Here's a complaint that he had. I disagree with it to a certain extent, but he was kind of onto something for a while till I thought about it. So he was saying that in the beginning of the movie, Red Guardian is competent. He's like a spy. He was clearly undercover, working at a spot. He had to steal something, you know, and then you see him defending them, like shooting, you know, lifting the car, whatever. He looked like he can get shit done. Like he looked like an actual competent spy, right? And then cut to halfway into the movie when he comes out and he's a fucking slob, like practically a drunk. He's kind of stupid because he's doing those like dumb jokes and like, you know, they turned him into a joke after him being such a badass in the beginning. So Armando was like, yo, that's fucking crazy. Like they just did a 180 on him.
Right, but he was in jail for like ever, like 20 years.
Yeah, so at first I was like, you might be onto something. And then I thought about it. I'm like, no, he's past his prime. He gained the weight. He's, like you said, in prison for a while. He was probably going crazy because he was telling stories about how he met Cap, even though Cap couldn't have existed at that time. Right. Like, the guy's clearly lost it. And it's probably just the shock of seeing his family again, you know, because he deep down did care about them. He was just trying to hold that in and like, no, from Mother Russia type shit. Right. So, like, just the shock of everything in total is just like, he's I
agree useless. With you 100%. Yeah, I agree. He's in jail. One, he was a trained spy, right? And he's a very competent spy. And he's a competent soldier. But then he goes to jail with individuals who aren't on his level at all. And as they say, you are who you hang out with. You know, he's out there with like the low lives of the world. Maybe people who, and you know, I'm not saying that there aren't people who aren't on his level, who are maybe intelligent as he are, whatever. But I'm just saying, clearly, the time spent in jail, which was like 21 years or 24 years, clearly affected him so much that he's not who he used to be.
Yeah, he's not at his prime at all. So
exactly.
It made sense. It was just shocking to see because it literally just says like 20-something years later, and you're like, who the fuck is this guy? But that's the point. It's to show that he's way past his prime, and these girls are running laps around him, and he's just kind of trying to fight to catch up. Like, my muscles can't do enough anymore. Shit, I'm out of I'm in the deep end of the pool now, and that's the comedy of it. That's what adds to it, you know.
Right, yeah. Yeah, so no, I see what Amando's saying, but I think what happened is that as a viewer, you kind of you see the time jump, but since you don't experience the time jump, and I mean it's a movie, so who really does? You don't put that in perspective. You're like, how can he? But it's just like, well, he's in jail around just, you know, people who aren't probably spies, who aren't keeping him to that high, you know, that high level. I used to work out when I was when I was 16, 15. I was in great shape. Am I in great shape now? No. But I used to hang out with people who were in great shape. Yeah. And I don't longer hang out with people who are in great shape. And so my body has adapted to that. So same thing applies. You are who you hang out with in a way. So, yeah. So I agree with you 100%. He was shaped by his environment. So
yeah, for sure. The other dynamic, so his dynamic with them was really fun for that reason. Now the dynamic with the sisters, I really liked Yelena because she was the exact opposite. So Natasha, obviously you find out about all the trauma that they went through growing up, and her what's the word I'm looking for? Her way to cope with all of her trauma is to be cold, stone cold, you know. Don't show emotion. Don't try to feel for anyone. Just like, boom. And that's why we always say that's what makes her boring. You know, what makes her feel boring is because of that. We don't really get much out of her. Now, Yelena is the exact opposite. She's gone through so much shit that as soon as she snaps out of the Red Room programming, she deals with her inner sadness with just jokes. You know, she starts joking about the whole fucking thing where they took her freaking fallopian tubes and shit and all that stuff, and she's doing it in a joking manner. You know, she's talking shit about her sister. So pretty much, Natasha acts cold as a defense mechanism, and then Yelena jokes as a defense mechanism. And I just thought it was a really cool way that they complemented each other.
That is actually pretty interesting that you said that, because I remember her saying like, when she's about, there was I think a part where she's about to die like twice, I guess, and she's like, what a cool way to go. And then
exactly, yeah.
And then she's on the table.
She's on the table.
And then she's like, "Oh, this is not a cool way to go." Right. And even when I think she blows up the helicopter, she says something.
Oh, yeah. I forgot what she says, but she also says a joke, kind of like, "Well, this is gonna be fun," or some shit, you know, like that.
Yeah. So yeah, I totally agree with you on that regard of like, yeah, I could totally see. And you see that though, because even when they're talking about when they were sat down as a family, quote unquote, and they were talking about everything they were talking about, Yelena couldn't even deal with it. So he's like, I'm just gonna get drunk at this point, you know.
Oh yeah.
And push this all down. So yeah, I totally agree with you. And like I said, and I think that's why I think she's a standout in this movie for me, for sure. Yeah. Just because she added that humor
like
to
you said,
it.
It was that much needed lightheartedness to it.
Right. And for Natasha,
it's funny because it's coming out of a dark place, but it is much needed. It's like, oh yeah.
And for Natasha being who she is, and we're learning more about her, I still didn't really care for her, because it was, you know, the same thing of like, now I know her backstory, now I know where she comes from, but I'm still not interested because, in my opinion, she's still kind of boring.
Right. she's better for this movie, of course. Actually, that was one of the things I was saying. If this movie would have came out when it was supposed to, right? Her death would have probably felt more, because then we would have remembered, oh shit, she's leaving behind her sister, her family, like everything, And there probably could have even been a scene before she died, like just hammering that in. So yeah, it definitely made her more three-dimensional, but I guess it wasn't as much as we were hoping for. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, it was mostly her just trying to like deal with shit by acting like real cold. So it's hard to find that entertaining,
Yeah, especially since we've seen it time and time again. Natasha's at her best when she is put with somebody else who's more lighthearted. Her best moments are with more lighthearted characters, whether it be even Steve Rogers, who is cookie cutter but still a lighthearted character. They work well together. When she has that thing when she has her relationship or love interest with Bruce Banner, the Hulk, whatever, that works together.
Yeah, it was out of left field, but it did work when it was happening. Sure, yeah,
right. So I think there are some characters in the MCU that only, in my opinion, only functioned with as a team. They're not. There's very few of them that can carry their own like movie. I think this movie can stand on its own. I'm not saying that she can't carry her own movie. I just think she needs a good supporting cast, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, all the solo movies do have, all the solo movies, none of those characters can carry the movie by themselves. You always need someone to complement you, for sure. And,
I think,
and that's why the team movies are like the most successful, because everyone kind of backs each other up,
I agree, and I think, and I disagree. I think some characters in the MCU can carry their own movie. I think Iron Man
Tony
can
Stark,
carry this.
Iron Man, right?
I think Iron Man could carry his own movie. I think Spider-Man could carry his movie. I think
fair enough.
But
like Thor needed the cast.
Yeah, I think Black Panther can carry his own movie, but obviously Black Panther's built around Wakanda, and I think the Wakanda characters round him out. What I'm saying, carry their own movie, I'm guessing, like, I guess with no interruptions of the MCU, like no interruptions of like,
That's fair.
But still, like Natasha had characters who are not MCU characters, who are now not MCU characters, but they're not previously MCU characters. But I don't think she can carry her own movie without a great supporting cast. And I think, but that's a rare, like you said, that's very rare anyway. So
yeah, the family dynamic, like I mentioned before, the family dynamic was what carried this movie. And then when they introduced the mother, that also added more into it as well. I actually really liked her introduction scene, because it was a little awkward, all of them sitting down at the family dinner, and you're kind of just like, is she down for the cause? Is she cool with them? Like, you don't really know. And then that pig scene where she just brings in the pig to kind of test out the mind control thing. And it was just that awkward, like, yo, you're going to let this thing just die in front of us?
Right.
And that was like to me, that was a nice reminder of like, oh yeah, all these motherfuckers are like hardcore spy assassins. So yeah, like none of you are really deep down like what you would call like a morally good person. You all have done shit. So when I saw that, I'm like, oh yeah, look how easy it is that she did. Obviously, at the end, she was like, oh, just kidding. It could have survived 11 more seconds, ha ha ha. But it's like, damn, that's a dark ass joke. Like, yeah, she's still a fucking killer.
Yeah, so. It's funny because like, you said that, and even though we had that when we were questioning, like, okay, is she gonna be good? Is she gonna like turn against them? It's funny that she changed her perspective so quickly.
Yeah, that's another thing I was going to talk to you about.
Mm-hmm. Which is not a plot hole, but she's been in the Red Room or under this guy's leadership for 30 years plus, assuming. Right. And she easily just says, you know what, now I'm gonna take him down, but. I guess it's through that realization of like, well, I don't have a choice. I've been essentially a cog in this guy's machine. And I don't want to be anyway.
Yeah, I took it as, so yeah, a lot of people, Armando was one of them as well, that was agreeing with that argument you were saying, like, man, it was so quickly, so out of left field. And it is until you start diving a little deeper into it. So this is my headcanon, right, of her motivation for why she did the turning. Okay, so you're part of the cause. The whole family gets separated. You're on your own. So it's like I have no one on my side to help me fight back. So I just got to go with emotion. And then the family comes in, and as a reflex, I gotta call backup because that's what I'm always trained to do. And then she sits down, has the whole family dinner, which is like a cute little scene of like where they're like, "Oh, sit up straight. Oh, you're slouching." It was like them. They immediately snap back to family mode, like the training kicked in. And then in my head, I'm thinking like, "Oh yeah, she likes this again." She misses this mission that they had where they got to like unplug, because even when they in the beginning, when they finally got the call to continue their mission, they were sad. They were like, "Oh no, it's like over. Like our paradise is gone because now we need to get back to reality." And then, of course, she was supposed to throw away the photo album, and she kept it. So that was like the final click of like, oh my God, my whole family's back. We can actually win this if we all work together. And especially when Natasha's saying, "Yo, let's go do this." And then the final straw was her like, "Oh, you kept the book." And then they start looking through it, and it's like, oh man, fuck it, we could do this. All right, I'm gonna tell you what I did. Let's fix this shit.
Yeah, I agree with you. Because you're right. Because it's kind of like when you hear like when Red Guardians is like, oh, she's in, I forgot where she's at. She's been doing remote work for him for years or whatever.
Yeah,
and then you
and
realize
not even the upper hierarchy. She kind of got demoted like he did. Demoted like, right, oh fuck you. Yeah. Right.
And then yeah, exactly. Because you understand his gripe. You understand him. You're like, he tried you. Like, you're a top dog and he fucking put you in jail. And you essentially don't know why. And I guess you still don't really know why he was sent to jail.
I think it was just, we don't need a super soldier that's like a narcissistic dude. We don't want anyone front and center. We want people behind the scenes. So it's like, fuck you. And that's it.
Yeah,
we're not going the Captain America route.
Mm-hmm. That doesn't make sense because he was just like, I control everything. I've done it like without being like the guy in front. So you're absolutely right. So I could see now that you said that, I could see why they got rid of him. So I understood his reason for like vengeance. I didn't understand hers until you explained it. Because you're right. Because then what she works on is the control serum or the control virus, but she works on it with pigs, and he does that for like years. And she's isolated. She's by herself. No family. No love. No anything. And the minute you get that, you're like, holy shit! Like I disagree with you. It makes sense because if you're isolated for such a long time, and then you forget what it feels like to experience, even though it's fake, that love again, then you think, okay, this is worth fighting for again.
Yeah.
So yeah, no. I didn't understand it at first, but now that you're saying it, I totally agree.
Yeah, that's kind of like, I'm like, man, it's a hard thing to explain, but if I break it down, you'll kind of get it. It seems fast, but you gotta put yourself in like the character's shoes. You know what I mean? And that's always like, whoa, this is MCU. What are you talking about? We don't need that much shit. Yeah. So it was a good character. What did we call it before? Like a character study. There you go. In like the spy world type thing.
Right. Yeah. No. And I agree. I think you're absolutely right on that front. So. Yeah, totally agree. What do you think about obviously the? Go on.
No, you.
No, cause I'm about to switch topics entirely. So go on.
Oh, okay. No, I'll just continue with the family thing. There was a nice little small moment that I liked where they set it up in the beginning of them talking about like the song they like, and all while they're on the run, they're like, Miss American Pie. So it's like, yeah, you could see that they obviously bonded as an actual family, not just as a cover. So when he finally, he's in the room with her, acting like an awkward dad, like, hey, what's up? You gonna talk to me? Which is still funny too. And then they break out into the song. I'm just like, ah, that's cute. It was a cute little moment that they had there. So yeah, that was it. It was just that further add to the family
during that
dynamic.
moment where he's singing and then like the agents come. It's like a bright light. I got kind of shook. I get easily scared. So like there was like a little like.
Oh, is that when you yelled? Oh shit!
Yeah. There's a moment. There's a quick moment of silence. I didn't think it was gonna be like bar. So it just scared me. Just that. So yeah, that's what you heard in the living room.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So what do you think about obviously the main villain, which is I forgot his name, the Russian
Dreykov.
Yeah. So cookie cutter villain. I liked that where he was like, I made pheromones that basically you can't attack me. And I love how she got away with it. I would just break my fucking nose. Like, I really... Yeah. It sounds a little bit too much. I think, can you just plug your nose? Like, can you just, plug your, wear nose plugs and call it a day? But...
Right, but of course they wrote that. They covered themselves with movie logic by saying it's science. It doesn't work that way. And you're like, all right, fine, I guess. You wrote it into the movie. I suppose that's how it works.
Right. And I guess but can pheromones get into any opening of your body? Like, can you breathe pheromones in?
I have no fucking idea how that works. But according to the movie, it just has a sixth sense of a vibe around you where it's not just holding your breath or covering your nose. But regardless, it was a good way to do it.
I did like that tension. I like how when she broke her nose, I thought that was a cool way to start a scene,
Yeah, what was actually really cool about that, so we were talking about when does Black Widow shine, and I think that on her solo moments, she shines the most when she's doing that fake interrogation technique where she is doing a reverse interrogation on people. So she did it in Avengers in the beginning where she's tied up, and she's like, oh no, getting punched, getting tortured, and then she's kind of asking them questions and they're doing the villain monologue. And then when she gets all the information she needs, boom, she breaks out. She does the same thing with Loki in Avengers as well, and she did the same thing with Dreykov. She played dumb, like, oh no, my gun doesn't work. And then she's taunting him, and he's punching. So the reason why she did that was so he could break her nose. And then that's when she's like, oh, since your punches are too weak and didn't break my nose, I guess I'll have to do it myself. And that's when she just slams her fucking head. So it was just funny that all of that was just a game.
Yeah.
So that's why she was taunting him. She's like, come on, do it. And she's like, fuck, you're not breaking my nose. He's like, come on. And then that's when she does it. So that whole scene, it just showed that she was in control the whole time. That was where she shines as a character, that it's like, you never know what's going on. Like, you never know if you're the one being interrogated or if you're interrogating her. So I thought that was a really great scene overall.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I didn't think of that until you said it. Like, she's in control, and she's Yeah, because you see her, like, he's explaining everything to her, like every villain does all the time.
Yeah, all the time, yeah.
Let me tell you my master plan so you can stop me.
Yeah, with the click of this button and this screen, I rule the world. She's like, all right, got it. Break the screen, break the button, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's so funny because it's just like, man, can we get something new? But whatever, fuck it.
Right. I mean, it works. It's typical. It's not even just that. It works for the genre, not only for superheroes, but it works for the genre of spy movies. Like, if you look at every James Bond movie, they do the monologuing, and they don't kill the hero. They're just like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna taunt. So it is a huge trope, but it works with the genre.
I just remember there was a movie, I think it was Quantum of Silence, where I think the villain was talking to this guy forever. It was just like, yo, what the fuck? Like,
yeah. If
is
it's
it
James
Quantum
Bond,
of Silence?
that's
It's one of the James Bond movies.
No, I think you're thinking of the one with Javier Bardem, Skyfall. That.
It's a badly reviewed one that no one liked. It's with
then
not badly reviewed, but it's one with the current Bond.
Yeah. It's probably the one with Christoph Waltz. Then Spectre. Spectre was badly reviewed.
I think that was no Spectre.
Yeah,
was good, though.
he did a big. It was me the whole time. Ha ha ha. And then
Yeah, whatever. But yeah, regardless, I get tired of all these tropes. And everyone who's listened to the podcast and everyone who knows when I get on and we're talking about this stuff, it's my main complaint. But regardless of that, I did enjoy that scene in the bedroom. I liked one of the things that I liked in terms of like I got design is that whenever they went to a location, they kind of put the name of that location up in white. Yeah. And I really liked that. I liked how the bedroom was in the sky and it's like bedroom. I liked how we saw
that was actually a nice touch. I like that.
Yeah. I liked how they were trying to look for it, and obviously the reason why you can't find it, I like that as well. The reason you can't find it is because it's not on Earth, it's in the sky. So I love that too. I like to see the widows like train. Which is interesting though, because they have like, I guess, male soldiers, but I don't know, whatever.
His like main bodyguards were the male ones, the ones that were all in the helicopter. That's about it.
Right. So it's like you trust the women to do the
solo. The women are for infiltration, right, and the men are just for like straight bodyguarding. Yeah,
like the muscle.
The dumb muscle where you don't need to lie to anyone. You just fucking come over here and protect me. Yeah.
Right. So it was interesting in that end, but yeah, I mean, overall, I liked it. I felt like the explosion part kind of dragged out a lot. Like everything's exploding and no one's dying yet. Like everyone just makes it out.
Oh yeah, no, and you know, it's fresh in your head obviously because you just saw it, but you didn't see the other Black Widows get into a fucking plane or a ship or anything, and I'm just like, yo, are we just gonna let them die? Like, what's going on? And then they show up at the end like, oh yeah, we were on an aircraft. It's like, well, I didn't see that. I thought you just killed everyone. Like, okay, right. You guys are free now. Fucking die.
And as I was watching the explosion scene happening, I'm just like, man, she stops by to release Taskmaster. She has the moment to tell her sister not to blow up the plane. She uploads it all to the data. Like, there should have been like a scene where she stops to get a Coke. Like, just like, all right, back to it. Like, she does all of this stuff. Like,
it did take a long time. Yeah.
She could literally just stop to be like, oh, wait, hold on. Let me go use the bathroom right quick. Okay, I'll get it. All right, I'm ready.
This is that part in the video game where it's like the self-destruct system has been activated. And then since it's a video game, they give you like 20 minutes. And you're like, oh, I'm good. Like, all right.
Yeah.
Boss battle time. Yeah, that's essentially what it was. There was a scene near the beginning, because I'm thinking of fight scenes that I really enjoyed, right? And honestly, it was just the first Taskmaster fight. And then, even though, again, it's fresh in your head, so maybe you can explain to me why this fight even happened, but choreography-wise, I think the fight between the sisters was really badass, because it gave me Bourne Identity, Bourne Supremacy vibes of, like, using everything around you as a weapon. Like, everything. Right. That fight, it was so close quarters, like, just craziness, and it was brutal. They were fucking each other up. I was like, yo, this is intense. And then at the same time thinking, why are you guys fighting? Like, this doesn't make any sense, but it's cool to look at. Did they explain why they fought, or am I just remembering?
I don't know why. I guess maybe Yelena thought
they knew they were their sisters. Maybe. Oh, you're gonna say that you didn't think she was like deactivated or something,
right?
Well, no, that can't be either, because she said the red room is gone, so she was surprised. So she thought her sister was just out there, just chilling. So I don't understand where the fuck all the fighting came from. That's the only thing I can't really defend.
They're not really sisters. Movie. So they're not really sisters. So they just thought like, oh, after all this time, you have to be against me because we're not related. I don't know.
I mean, that's it's not a good explanation, but it's the only one that's remotely makes sense, I guess. It's a stretch, but it's better than what I can come up with, so fuck it. I'll take it. I can't think of anything else.
I mean, they don't even look like their younger selves, so I mean, I'm surprised that they even recognize each other, but I mean, it's a movie, so.
So the younger self of Natasha, of Black Widow was the daughter of Mila Jovovich. You know, Lilu Dallas Multipass.
Oh, yeah, it does. It looks a lot like her.
Fucking dude. It's a clone of her. So when I saw it immediately, I'm like, damn, I bet that's her daughter, because I knew her daughter wanted to be in acting, and I'm like, there it is. It's totally her. And the last thing I probably want to talk about in the movie is big disappointment was the final Taskmaster fight. So I actually liked the scene as the base is falling, of them like flying through the debris, like dodging shit and fighting midair. I thought that was pretty fucking cool. But when they finally landed and you're like, all right, here it goes. Taskmaster knows all of her moves. What is she gonna do? And what's she gonna do? She's just gonna fight exactly the same way and somehow win. I'm just like, no. I wish there was something where she's just like, I don't know, I have to fight unpredictably, and then maybe she just does like weird shit that she's never done before, and then that confuses Taskmaster to go, oh, I didn't see that coming, and then she beats Taskmaster. But this fight reminded me of the fight in Dark Knight Rises, where Batman comes back after getting his back broken, and it's like, all right, rematch with Bane. All right, what are you going to do? You're just going to punch him exactly like how you did the first time, and you somehow win. Cool. Got it. That's how I felt. It did nothing to me.
Yeah. I didn't think, like I said, I don't think of fight scenes that much anymore, just because I've seen so many of them. I don't put that much train of thought into them. I don't really enjoy cinematic fight scenes anymore as much as I used to. So actually, I don't think of it too much. What would have been cool, now that you're saying that, I never thought about it, but now that you're saying it would be cool, is that they make a joke, and I wanted to talk about this joke. They make a joke in the movie. The sister makes the joke about, oh, Yolanda is such a poser. You keep doing that fucking pose, and you do that bend the knee and head drop pose. Yeah. And Yolanda's just like, whatever.
Like this, and you do the head whip, and she was so fucking funny with that.
Yeah. And then she does the pose again when she saved Red Guardian. She does the pose. Yolanda's like, oh, what a poser. I think it would have been a great finish to the joke if she can't win, right? Like she's getting her ass whooped constantly. And Yolanda just yells out to her yo, stop being a poser. Stop doing the same shit over and over. And then she just changes it up. That would have been
just to piggyback the joke. I got you.
Yeah, or Red Guardian just runs over with a car, and that's how you have to beat. Just something fuck it,
he just goes at the end.
That's the only way. I've been slamming on my desk. Sorry for the listeners. But yeah, that's the only way you can do it. Is to just run her over with a fucking car. But yeah, I agree with
anything better than that, because it really was just, hey, I'm winning, and all right, here's the antidote, and it's like, that's it. I mean, fuck.
Yeah.
It needed a better photo finish,
Yeah, and obviously the character is still alive. So, and obviously there's a chip. She's run by a computer. She's half android at this point. So
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah. So my hope is that we still get that kind of wisecracking Taskmaster, because her data is saved, more or less.
They could do what they're doing with Mandarin right now. They're like, oh, Iron Man 3, that's the Mandarin. Nope. Watch Shang-Chi. That's the real Mandarin. So they could just do this. This is the Taskmaster technology. And then they're going to put it into this fucker. I forgot what the actual Taskmaster character's name is. That guy, the wisecracking merc, and he gets the tech. They could do that, like you're saying. And that could be the true Taskmaster. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. The one that we
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Because they could spin off. Obviously, now with the shows, they need more content, and I'm not sure where they're going.
Anything.
Yeah, they could make the regular girl another. I don't know. She retires or she becomes something else, and then they make a Taskmaster or whatever.
100%.
But yeah, just because I didn't like this iteration doesn't mean they can't change it up or they can keep it. Whatever. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, like, anything else you wanted to add?
Actually, it was a big one. I forgot to mention it. It's the whole time you're thinking of like in Budapest, and in a bunch of movies they're always talking about the adventures in Budapest, and I'm like, man, are we finally gonna see it? You still don't see it. You just get snippets of it, like, oh, look at these holes in the wall, they're made by arrows, or look at when we played tic-tac-toe when we were stuck up here for days, and then they showed Dreykov's daughter blowing up during the mission too. So I rewatched the scene because remember I was telling you I was rewatching the interrogation scenes of the Black Widow had done in previous movies. I was rewatching the Loki one, and Loki is like gets in her head and starts saying like, there's a lot of stuff about you that's haunting you, and he mentions back in Avengers Part 1, he mentions like Dreykov's daughter, and I'm like, oh shit, I never fucking remembered that they threw that in there, that snippet in there. That was something that she carried with her in the guilt. So it was a cool little, finally, after I don't know how many years, he finally got a payoff for that. So it was interesting. But I wish they would have done some type of Hawkeye cameo where he would have came back, de-age him for the mission and show something. So a little disappointed about that. But I mean, the movie was long, so I guess it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know the Budapest reference. Like I said, casual watcher.
Oh, yeah, you forgot about that. Yeah, every time her and Hawkeye are together and they're, like, in trouble, surrounded, they're like, oh, you think it's worse than Budapest? Or, like, oh, like back in Budapest? They mention it in all their movies where they're together. They do some type of Budapest reference. So you're always the whole time thinking, man, how bad was that mission? And then they talk about it. Hold up 10 days, special forces fighting you, that type of shit. So it's like, cool, I got an explanation what it was finally, but I still didn't see it.
Right, and maybe with the Hawkeye show, maybe you will see it.
I don't know. I think it's just gonna be that again. So, but yeah, after that, really, it's just after credits to talk about. Which, I got a really big one too. Shit. So the movie ends. She says bye to her family. Doesn't leave with the family, which makes no sense. But she's got to be in Endgame, so fuck it. She can't stay with her family now. But she gets captured by Ross at the end. She gave herself up. And then you cut to the after credits scene where you see her with her vest. Her vest got a fucking origin. And her blonde hair got an origin. And then she's free. And you're like, how the fuck did you escape from Ross? You explained the vest and the blonde hair, but you couldn't explain how you escape from Ross's like stuff. It was so weird. It was just so strange. I was like, that's a pretty big piece you just missed. You just say, oh, she had just escaped and dyed her hair blonde, grabbed the vest, got the ship that she gets in Infinity War, and then she frees Hawkeye and Ant-Man and so on. So it's just a very rushed section when you were trying to answer everything. It's a little strange.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, they could probably... It doesn't seem like she's going to be back for any more movies.
No, she won't. She's done. If anything, she'll do voice work for What If, but she's done.
Yeah.
And the final after credits is Yelena's over her gravestone, and then that's where Contessa comes out, which she's from Falcon Winter Soldier. She's essentially I don't know exactly her backstory in the comics, but she seems like she's going to be the more Black Ops version of S.H.I.E.L.D. So she recruited what's this guy's face from the show? Agent something. Walker.
Something agent. Right.
Yeah, Walker, Fate Cap. So she recruits Fate Cap, and obviously you can already see that she had already recruited Yelena, because Yelena was already, seemed like she was already employed by them. And then that's when she gives her the whole, here you go, now you're going to be in a Disney Plus show in Hawkeye. So that's the whole alley-oop there.
Yeah. I thought that was fine. I think it sets up, and I think I like her.
The next show, so it's good.
Yeah, and I like her, so that's also bonus points there. So I could get to see her being wise ass some more. But yeah, I mean, overall, I thought it was a good show. A good movie. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed some of the set pieces. that they had, and I thought some of the funny moments were totally there. Yeah, anything else you want to add, Pedro, to the film?
No, that's it. That's it. We got them all.
We got them all. Gotta catch them all. So, guys, if you like that, follow us on our social medias. We are on Popcorn Heroes on IG, and Facebook, I guess. We don't really post that much, but whatever. But just stay tuned for another episode, and we'll catch you guys next time on Popcorn Heroes.
Bye-bye.
Later, guys.